Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Midday Live on TV3 with me, Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Coming up within the next 1 hour. Turf war at the Electoral Commission as the chairperson launches scathing attack on her deputy in charge of operations, Asiedu-Dartey, accusing him of corrupt practices. We'll be diving deeper into this particular story. Meanwhile, the National Peace Council has called for calm on that particular story. Now, there's also a shortage of polio vaccines to affect newborn babies as health facilities across the country run out of supply. And as the 5th anniversary of former President Professor John Evans Atta Mills is marked, we find out about the man who was fearless in standing his grounds on issues on morality and national interest. On entertainment news this afternoon, we'll be asking that question that, are there welfare mechanisms in place for veteran entertainers who are battling ill health? Details shortly. Thank you very much for staying with TV3. This is Midday Live. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Details of our stories now. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, has launched a scathing attack on her deputy in charge of operations, Asiedu-Dartey, for sidestepping the EC's financial administration procedure by taking monies from political parties for their primaries. She alleged that Asiedu-Dartey bagged some 6 million Ghana cedis from political parties without informing the Commission's finance department.
Chairperson Charlotte Osei has responded to the 27 allegations leveled against her, indicating there is no established case of fraud or abuse of office made against her. Principally, the EC Deputy Chair, Charlotte Osei, indicated Georgina Opoku Amankwa illegally signed over 40 million cedis contract without the knowledge of the EC boss. The employees claim Madam Charlotte Osei, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, on 30th June 2015 assumed office while still holding office as a board member of Ghana Reinsurance, a public company contrary to Article 44(4) of the 1992 Constitution. Charlotte Osei's response was that Ghana Reinsurance is a limited liability company with shares held by the government of Ghana. A non-executive director position is not a public office. The employees also claim the Commission signed a contract with Supertech Limited STL on the premise that the voters' registration exercise was going to be electoral area-based. Upon assumption of office as the chairperson of the Commission, Charlotte Osei unilaterally abrogated the said contract without recourse to the same Commission. She single-handedly renegotiated the contract with a vendor without involvement of the members of the Commission, not even the deputies, to the tune of $21,999,592 without going through tender, contrary to the Public Procurement Act. In her response, the EC chair indicated the two deputy chairpersons signed 2 contracts with STL on May 6, 2015 for $22.3 million BVR and $16.4 million BVD. She insisted letters were written to Public Procurement Authority on May 15, 2015, seeking permission for sole sourcing after the contracts had been signed.
Various angles have developed as a result of the petition and the response from the EC chair. Let's go to the Ashanti region now, where our Northern Sector Bureau Chief, Kofi Edu-Domfe, is with Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, who is the chairman of the Christian Council, and they are asking for the Electoral Commission to at least find an amicable way of resolving the impasse so it doesn't affect the credibility of the Electoral Commission. So, Kofi, do help us understand what Professor Emmanuel Asante is saying and how they, as a Christian Council and key stakeholders, will be able to, help settle this issue amicably?
The Electoral Commission is indeed the pivot of our electoral integrity. Now, with the ongoing accusations, counter-accusations, faceless petitions, Ghanaians should indeed be worried about what is currently happening at our EC.
Sure. I mean, any citizen of Ghana who is not just a spectator must be very much concerned about what is happening at EC, because as you rightly said, it is the basis of our democracy. Without a very sound electoral commission that is so united and committed to the work that has been assigned to them, our democracy will be shaky. So as far as I'm concerned, what is happening at EC at the moment must be a worry to any concerned citizen of this country.
One of the issues being talked about now has to do with whom should we be believing, whether the commissioner herself or her other commissioners. How do we weave into this whole issue with the hope of getting a solution?
I think it's not a question of believing any party. Accusations and counter-accusations have come. And we have, the due process. The due process, I'm told that Yoko is already investigating some part of it. Petition have been sent to Nana Addo, who is the president of the nation, His Excellency. The due process is that if he thinks that it merits anything at all, he's going to push it to the Chief Justice, who will in turn look at the prima facie aspect of it. If he establishes that, then due process will have to go on. So as far as I'm concerned, we should not commit ourselves to media trial on this issue, because, these are allegations. We do not have the facts, and therefore we should allow the bodies that have been instituted to work on these things of this nature to do their work. And one would hope that these bodies would also do the work that has been assigned to them with expedition. So that, as a nation, we will have the peace of mind. Because if your electoral commission is in trouble, it's in this shape, your democracy is also in a bad shape.
And one will also say that in as much as we supposed to allow the due processes to be followed, at the end of it all, the whole commission itself would have been bruised one way or the other at the end of the session. Should we pursue the thought that all commissioners should excuse themselves from their positions and allow fresh air at the commission?
It depends upon what we mean by fresh air. We also need a basis. Are we going to simply bring in new people who have had no experience at all? I would think that, we will have to look into the matter. Depending upon the outcome of it, others may have to recuse themselves from the whole thing. If it is established that nothing is found against them, there is nothing wrong with that, they continue with their work. If there is the need for other people to be taken out, then we go through that process. I'm concerned not about individuals, really. I'm concerned about the institution itself, which is a very viable institution in our political democracy.
And for our political actors, most especially the NPP, the NDC, how do we ensure, as you're saying, the integrity of the commission does not end up being bastardized with these ongoing accusations?
I think the political parties, especially the two major parties who have had the privilege of governing this country, the NDC and PP, should be very circumspect in the kinds of things they say about this issue. There's no reason why we should politicize this. By politicizing it, I mean partisan politics. Counter-accusations, NDC accusing MPP, MPP responding and also accusing NDC. The moment you do that, you have really created a situation where the institution itself is bastardized.
So that's Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante in an interview with our Northern Sector Bureau Chief Kofi Asiedu-Dartey. And we are staying on that subject matter because the lady in question and the office she holds, that's the chair of the Electoral Commission, seem to have dominated media discussions in the last few weeks, I should say. Now, after the petition from some workers, they were called concerned workers of the Electoral Commission, she fired a 7-page, 27-pointer response. And we've just dug out key pointers that we want to focus on. In her response, these are some of the highlights. Madam Charlotte Osei accused her deputy in charge of finance and administration, that's one Mrs. Amankwa, of signing contracts worth more than 40 million without authorization. Some of those contracts she terminated, some she had to re-award. Now, also she indicated that Asiedu-Dartey bagged some 6 million CDs from political parties without the knowledge of the finance department of the commission, and said that Asiedu-Dartey did that when he helped organize the primaries for the various political parties. We have one such party rep in the studio. We'll be putting a few questions to him shortly. Also in her 27-pointer response, Madam Charlotte Osei said that Deputy Chair of Finance and Administration has also been accused of supervising a financial department which consistently flouted the financial regulations of the Electoral Commission. And she also added that the deputy, the same deputy, she branded as incompetent in her leadership position. Now, the EC chair vowed to trigger investigations into the conduct of the 3 persons, that's the 3 other commissioners, one of whom is already under investigations by IOCO. So we know that earlier, before all of this became a topical issue, the Economic and Organized Crime Office asked some 3 officials of the Electoral Commission to proceed on leave pending investigations. Now that triggered this whole storm of back and forth, why they want her out and why she thinks she also has to stay in office. And so we've been joined in studio by Kofi Asamoah-Siao. He is the policy advisor to the Progressive People's Party, the PPP, and then also the party's representative at the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, that's IPAC. They actually work very closely with the Electoral Commission. Kofi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Chief, good afternoon.
Yes. To start with, I mean, not to ask what the PPP makes of this, but let's focus on Asiedu-Dartey's issue that the EC chair has raised. She's saying that as much as 6 million CDs was received by Asiedu-Dartey in his private account after helping organize the various primaries for political parties like yours. Our question to you, though, this afternoon would be, under what circumstance did the party pay or make payments to the Electoral Commission, considering the fact that you had a primary to organize?
Well, first of all, this is a governance issue. We have been a party that is trying to make suggestions as to how this country, some changes need to be done in our governance matter. Right. So having me here, don't let me go straight to this matter, but let me, if you like, express what we think,
what the party thinks of
the development that is going on. Briefly. I think it's in bad taste. The allegations are so serious, and it can undermine the integrity of the Electoral Commission itself. But we think that if you look at the responses back and forth, I want to associate ourselves with the suggestions made by the chairperson of the Peace Council that the investigative bodies must do what is right and get to the bottom of this matter. Because it appears that there's a leadership that has gone bad, because if you look at the responses, they say that, yes, we agree that we have breached procurement rules, but you also did ABC. Yes, we agree that, or I agree that I have engaged a solicitor not in accordance with due process of law, but because members of the commission had agreed at a meeting, so be it. This is like reporting yourself that we have admitted that we have been doing things as working as public officers in breach of laid down procedures, and we have been on the other side or suffered these non-compliance with laid down rules and procedures. So it's a big matter.
Not just by the EC chair.
Not just by the EC chair, but other members. So if all of them have, if you like, agreed or conspired to violate our laid down procedures and so on, then we don't need peace or truce at the EC, we need more digging and complete overhaul of the system, an EC that is complete overhaul, so that we have an EC that is at speed with the kind of democracy we want to have, and making changes to our electoral processes that benefits the development of this country.
Solid foundation. Now let's come to the substantive issue of parties having made payments to an individual, though an official of the EC. Did you pay any monies to Amadou Sule? How much was that?
That's interesting. We didn't, and let me try and explain how the EC is involved in our activities as political parties. First of all, the law says that, the political parties law says that your constituency, regional, national officers election must be supervised by the Electoral Commission. So that is how we come into the conduct of our internal primaries. Okay. Then for credibility issues and making sure that you have done something above board, when we are selecting our presidential candidate, we also want that body recognized to conduct elections to do that for us. So we have extended their legal role in the conduct of our affairs to cover primaries of presidential elections, even when the law doesn't say so. In our case, what we do is that we engage the district officers of the Electoral Commission if it's constituency election. If it's a regional election, we engage the regional
executives of the
Electoral Commission. If it's national, for example, the last flag bearer race that we did, we notify the national, and then they will assign. Normally, they will even advise that you write to the director of elections, and then they will assign somebody from the region. Our secretary, when we had our elections in Takoradi, I don't recall, but it was a year before 2016. The Electoral Commission regional director came.
You had engagement.
Yes. So what we do is that yes, we pay for all our electoral materials that we will use, the ballots, because it's our code. We've contested that, but we also facilitate that for them to be able to come and do that. They give us a budget, we go through it. But in our case, it's always at the regional level. Even the last flag bearer race that we had at the trade fair, the person who came was the district director of the area where we had the event. So nobody came from national.
So am I to get that your party, as in PPP, did not deal directly with Amadou Sule in this context?
No, we haven't paid any money to Mr. Amadou Sule.
So the PPP has not paid any money?
Yeah, we haven't paid any money to Mr. Amadou Sule. I don't know where he's gotten this money, where he got the money from, if he indeed got them. But as far as our approach is concerned.
Yes. But then the official that came to supervise your primaries and the presidential one as well, the payment, was there any payment to the official?
Yeah, we pay to the district person of the commission because they come to the...
So there's a receipt?
There's a receipt for the money we have paid them.
And that is by law?
We have, you mentioned I've been representing PPP on IPAC. I have raised this issue before from two ways. For example, we in the PPP were saying that, is it possible for the commission to discontinue charging these monies that they charge us, because it is their job to do that, supervise the activity of the political party. So that activity will be charged on the consolidated fund because it's a public activity. So I raised it at the IPAC meeting, and also the fact that we need to standardize it because the regional or district officers of the EC were giving their own figures.
So there isn't a standard amount to charge for, constituency primaries or national
regional
event.
or national. Because I put this question myself to Madam Charlotte say at the IPAC meeting. And then they said that they were going to resolve, and that was the end of the matter. Because we didn't want a situation where...
do you get documentation from the Electoral Commission about their financials? And may this have represented in it? I mean, was it there that at this point in time, such an amount was paid to the Electoral Commission? So
you mean when we go to IPAC we get briefed on?
Yes.
No, they don't do any such thing. Anything you say, we are independent, we're a commission, and so on. So they have not been transparent as far as the disbursement of their own cash is concerned. And it is good that these developments are coming up. 2 years or 3 years ago, CDD organized a forum that I was fortunate to participate somewhere in Sogakope. And the director, I think Professor Jima Boidi, made it clear that this whole play of the independence of the Electoral Commission is somehow shielding them from public accountability.
Right.
So we need to remove that screen of independence. In any case, they are working for us. So to the extent that they are public officers, they can't hide in that closet and say that they are independent. Everything they do must be put public in the public space. Okay. But you ask questions, they are defensive, they are not open to accountability and so on and so forth.
The more reason you're asking for a total digging and overhaul.
Digging and overhaul. And if people have to go, they have to go as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Kofi Asamoah is the policy advisor for the Progressive People's Party, that's the PPP, and then also he is the party's rep at IPAC. And still an unfolding story. We're looking at what's happening at the Electoral Commission following the petition and the counter, the reaction thereof. Trust TV3 to keep you posted on latest development. Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel. And certainly we'll be in touch. This is still Midday Live on TV3. What we'll do now, though, is to mark the death of one of Ghana's sons, that is former President John Evans Atta Mills. So there was grief earlier today at the Asumdwe Park here in Accra as part of activity to remember the late former President John Evans Atta Mills. So the event was marked and in attendance was former President John Evans Atta Mills, that's also former Vice President Parkwesi Mr. Arthur, and other NDC party bigwigs. After a sermon by clergymen, wreaths were laid. President Mahama laid the first one on behalf of the state, and then also President Mills' son, Kofi Mills, laid one on behalf of the family, and chairman of the NDC, Kofi Potofi, laid on behalf of the National Democratic Congress. And former President John Dramani Mahama spoke briefly to the media. I would want to hear what exactly he said as the country marked the 5th anniversary of former President John Evans Atta Mills.
For certain values, and those values were values of inclusiveness, humility, and a person who was a father for all. Unfortunately, Ghana continues to be torn apart by partisan differences. That was what Professor Mills tried to scale. And so even though I think that people feel vengeful, we must remember his characteristics and still try to live up to those values. And so as we celebrate the 5th anniversary, let us all remember what he stood for, that the opportunities of this country should be open to all our people, irrespective of their political affiliation. Happy that he's in heaven and that he's looking down on us, and that Ghana is continuing to make progress, and that we must all continue to work together to make our nation great and strong.
That's former President John Mahama, and he succeeded John Evans Atta Mills, both of the same political party, the NDC. We've been joined in studio by brother of the former president, John Evans Atta Mills, and we're going to put a few questions to him with regard to the 5-year anniversary, or the 5th anniversary of the passing of our former president. And he's in the person of Samuel Atta Mills. He is also the member of parliament for the Commander Egwafu Ebrim, Commander Edina Egwafu Ebrim constituency in the Central Region. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
To start with, what has the family made of the celebration of the former president 5 years on?
Oh, this is a time that we remember our brother, some of the good things that we went through with him, and just to remember just the good things. Basically, that's about it. Today we went to the park, we laid a wreath out there, we performed a little bit of our family ritual out there, and that was it. The rest of the family members are getting together for us to reminisce.
Okay. Some people, I mean, earlier today when the news started making rounds on social media, there were lots of people who said that they wanted to at least remember some of the key statements that our former president made. So TV3 put a few together for you. Let's watch that. Then we'll come back in studio to continue the interview.
5 years of John Evans Atta Mills' passing, selfless leadership remembered today. Let's take you through some profound statements.
My brothers and sisters, let me be very honest with you.
Professor Mills won the 2008 elections and quickly went to give thanks to the Almighty at the Synagogue Church of All Nations, and this is what he had to say.
If there is anybody who does not believe in God, I would say that our elections should change that person's mind and let him believe in God.
The former president met with the press on a question and answer session about the economy and strides he had made since he came into power.
I think going round that you are working towards the removal of the Chief Justice. How true is that rumor, and do you have any such intention to work for the removal of the Chief Justice? Thank you.
Please stay where you are. Look at my face very carefully. Listen to my voice. Do I look and sound like a cat hunter?
That's former President John Evans Atta Mills. We have Samuel Atta Mills in studio, brother of the late president, and we just want to ask, so as it stands now, do you think that the lessons the president stood for is still relevant to us, and are we really paying attention to those lessons?
I think most people have paid attention to those lessons, and some people are practicing it maybe quietly. This is not something that would be, people will not necessarily wear their emotions on their sleeve. But the lessons about integrity, I think, was very, very important, which we picked up from our parents. His yes was yes, and his no was no. Being punctual, you know, having the credibility, the integrity, I think that was great. Humility was also very important. That is what we picked up from our mother. Treat everybody the same. Don't just treat the so-called big guys or the poor guys different or whatever, because everybody has a purpose. And having the fear of God. If we don't have the fear of God, then what else? At least we know that where we are right now is a temporary place. We'll be going to a permanent place. And if you don't live your life well over here, you may not enter heaven. So those are some of the things, and reading the good book, it makes us comport ourselves. And look, there are so many things we could all do, but then when you know that if you don't do well, you may not enter where you want to go.
So with these precepts that you've laid, that former president was known for, you believe he's in a good place, he's in heaven?
Very much so. I believe very well that he's in a very good place. Yes, and he's there smiling at us.
Right. Finally, there were concerns about the burial place. Yes. Some said that it had not been properly kept, and it was because of today's anniversary that they had to quickly go and weed the place and clear it up. How is the family taking this?
You see, there have been so many comments made by so many other people, some claiming to be family members, some may not be. But I made a statement on the floor of Parliament, and my comment was, who is supposed to take care of these presidential burial places? Because I don't know. And right now in this Fourth Republic, we have 3 ex-presidents. We have 1 sitting president, and we will keep on having more presidents. Now, God forbid, should God call any of them, where are they going to be buried? If you come to Asiedu-Dartey Park, apart from Prof's grave, there are 8 more out there. So should any of the presidents be buried in their hometown or Asiedu-Dartey Park, how are we going to take care of it? And that was the essence of my statement out there, was we need to have an institution or agency or somebody who would take care of all these places. It's not only when your party is in power that they would take care of you, but what next?
Right.
Yes.
Anyway, so I think that's a call and a concern that the current administration will be paying particular attention. Even Ghanaians in general, where we lay our former presidents, should they pass. Now, also at today's event, we were told that the former president's wife, Madam Nadu Mills, was not present.
Yes.
Was the family aware? Was there a reason
why? The reason that I got was she wasn't feeling very well. She was a little bit under the weather. Okay. That's why she wasn't there. Okay. But I'll plead with Ghanaians. Please, let's don't politicize everything. We seem to make everything NDC, NPP, and politics here, because I understand that is what sells news. But look, when we go to church, We don't go to an NDC church or an NPP church. And when we go to heaven, I don't think there will be an NDC heaven or NPP heaven. I doubt Jesus is a politician.
All right. That's a quote I will be taking from you, that Jesus is not a politician. Samuel Atamil's quote. All right. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us. We've been speaking to Samuel Atamil's Member of Parliament for the KEEA constituency, and then also brother of former President John Evans Atamils. We were marking the 5th anniversary of the passing of former President John Evans Atamils. This is still Midday Live on TV3. Stay with us. There is more to come. Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for staying with TV3. This is Midday Live, and we're going to one of our headline stories we're looking at for you. And there is a general shortage of polio vaccines in the country, which is causing fear, particularly among nursing mothers. The shortage is as a result of Ghana's failure to pay debt owed the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. We're told that UNICEF is the international body that procures the vaccines across the globe. Through the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Anthony Nsiasari, says that close to 10 million cedis has been paid to UNICEF for procurement. The vaccines are yet to get to the hospitals. The World Health Organization described death, which can be prevented with vaccines, as an unacceptable tragedy. And we've been joined on the phone lines by Gabriel Benaku, and he is with the Coalition of NGOs on Health, and he's joined us on the phone. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Good afternoon.
The story about shortages of some vaccines started a few weeks ago, and it looks like we still are having that problem. What do you think is accounting for this?
Yeah, thank you. I think that it's something that 2 weeks ago we started doing follow-up with the Director General and other stakeholders about the early warning that we receive from the field. Currently, we are working in 57 districts in Ghana, and so we got the information earlier, so we wanted to know what were some of the challenges, and then we were able to meet the Director General. We were assured that this week the vaccines will be in and they can deploy them to the various districts. But let me state that the expanded program for immunization in Ghana has certain arrangements with UNICEF and some development partners. And one of them is Gavi. And what they do is they support the government of Ghana, we call it co-funded. They have a certain percentage that they provide to the government of Ghana, while the government of Ghana also pays a certain percentage. So if they pay and the government of Ghana is not able to pay their counterpart fee, then that affects the supply of the vaccine in the country. And that is what we have experienced now. Over the last 2 years, the government of Ghana has been defaulting in its obligation to pay for its co-funding. And that has been affecting the ability for the vaccines to be
sent to the various hospitals. Okay, for lack of time, I just want to make it quite brief. And finally, would you say that, yes, the drugs are coming in next week, hopefully they'll be getting to the hospitals, but as it stands now, would you describe it as a crisis?
It's certainly a crisis because of the lack of commitment by government to regularly and commit itself to the agreement it has made to the people of Ghana. And so what we are advocating for is that the government of Ghana should immediately, the Minister of Health should come up with a policy on immunization financing.
Okay.
If we finance immunization, we have a policy, it is going to help to sustain the immunization program. Because every year, Ghana gives birth to close to 1 million children. So we cannot afford not to have a policy on immunization funding.
Thank you so much, Mr. Benaku. Dr. Gabriel Benaku is with the Coalition of NGOs on Health, and the concern about the lack of polio vaccines in the country is at a crisis stage. Time now, though, for business. We've been joined in the studio by Pakwesi. Hello, Pakwesi.
Hi, Martin. Good to have you, and good to see you as well. Good afternoon. Welcome to the very latest in the world of business. My name is Pakwesi. I will take a short break. We return with the very latest in business news.
the business segment.
Right, so we begin with some very interesting developments, which I'm sure would excite you. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank has reduced the policy rate by 150 basis points to 21%. Well, this is the third time in a row the committee is reducing the rates this year. The MPC has been meeting since last week to review the health of the economy, while the policy rate is usually indicative of the rate commercial banks borrow from the central bank. But how is this likely to impact on the loans you're currently servicing at your bank? Let's get on the phone lines now and speak to economist Asiedu-Dartey, who's the Institute of Fiscal Studies, also with the University of Ghana Economics Department. Thank you very much, Sakode, for your time. Good to have you. This is about the third time this year the central bank is reducing the policy rate. Are you surprised?
Well, I'm not surprised. In fact, I was even expecting it. Ghana's policy rate is one of the highest in the world, and I think that reducing it to 21 is a step in the right direction. And I think that in going forward, it should be reduced further because it's still high.
Right. So we're beginning to see certain macroeconomic indicators like inflation, like the Treasury bill rate, for instance, which is about 12%. Inflation is going down, but people continue to complain about the spread on the lending rate. That's still very high. Are we likely to see any improvements in that area?
Yes, I hope so. The Bank of Ghana usually uses the policy rate to tighten monetary flow in the system so that they can fight inflation, especially if inflation is caused by monetary factors. So if inflation is going down and then the Treasury bill rate has been going down, then there's every reason for them to reduce the policy rate. However,
of course, the exchange rate has also been relatively stable this year.
Yes, it's been very stable. But my major concern is the impact of the policy rate on lending rates by commercial banks. We know that the policy rate, in simple terms, is the rate at which the commercial banks borrow from the central bank. And we also know from basic economics, from business, is that the lending rate is also the rate at which the individuals and companies borrow from the commercial banks. So if the policy rate is going down, we expect some effect on the lending rate. Ghana's lending rate on average of about 30% is very high. It means that if you borrow 100 cedis today, you pay 130 cedis next year, and it is very high. In fact, some countries like Japan are experiencing negative interest rates. And so if we have an interest rate around 30%, businesses cannot borrow. Even if you have to borrow, they borrow at a higher interest rate, and that will feed into cost of production, and it will increase prices of goods, and it will feed into inflation again. So I think that something must be done. I don't know where we are missing the link, but wherever we are missing the link, we must find what the problem is and fix it.
All right, thank you very much.
Impact on lending rate.
Thank you very much, Asiedu-Dartey. He's an economist with the University of Ghana and also with the Institute of Fiscal Studies. The latest is that the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank has reduced the policy rate by 150 basis points to 21%. We'll bring you further analysis of this later in our subsequent bulletins, of course, on Business Focus at 6 p.m.